I stared at the glowing screen of my phone, the words cutting through me like ice. Your father cut ties with this family a long time ago. If you walk out to cry over a dead man, do not bother coming back. Your grandfather's inheritance is permanently forfeited. The text was from Aunt Melissa, CEO of our family empire, a woman whose smile in boardroom photos hid a spine of pure steel. I was standing outside the hospital, clutching a plastic bag holding Dad's watch and keys, the scent of antiseptic sharp in my nostrils. I am Amanda. I just turned 31. For 5 years, I ran my independent tech firm, but secretly, I was the backbone of my family's corporate empire. Aunt Melissa lounged in her corner office on the 40th floor, surrounded by imported marble, sipping overpriced lattes while my cousin Brandon strutted around with a vice president title and tailor-made suits. They took the credit. I did the work, wrote the code, built servers, fought fires in the middle of the night. Every time I asked for fair recognition, they hid behind family loyalty as a weapon. Dad was different. He ran a dusty clock shop in rural Wisconsin, hunched over his wooden workbench, smelling of oil and black coffee. He taught me patience, the value of time, the weight of building something real. And now, Aunt Melissa's text made it clear, grief had a price, and she intended to collect it. But something in me snapped. I stepped away from the hospital, from her glass towers, and for the first time, imagined holding the hammer instead of bending under it. Little did Melissa know, the invisible spine of her empire, the one she had ignored for years, was about to become the weapon that would shatter everything she had built. I walked into Aunt Melissa's pristine glass office, clutching a glossy funeral home brochure like a talisman. Brandon leaned lazily against the mahogany doorframe, smirking like he owned the world. Melissa glanced up from her monitor, her perfectly manicured hands twitching, not with anger, but with panic. For days, I said quietly to bury my father. She delivered her ultimatum like a scalpel. Do not even think about leaving. The $3.8 million Apex migration this weekend cannot fail. Your grandfather's inheritance will be forfeited if you step out. Her cruelty stung, but beneath her polished boardroom mask, I saw it, the frenzied, raw terror of a woman teetering on the edge. For years, she had weaponized our bloodline against me, treating my labor as a family duty, a silent servitude. But now she was cornered. Every Thanksgiving, I had been the quiet niece who refilled her empty wine glass, who fixed server crashes at 2 a.m., who swallowed her condescending jokes. I had been invisible. But standing in that office, I realized obedience had a cost I would no longer pay. I gave a slow nod. Understood, I said, voice calm, expression blank. Back at my dad's clock shop, the familiar scent of sawdust, oil, and black coffee wrapped around me. I set my laptop on his workbench, the space where patience and precision were everything. I owned the software architecture. My company held the copyrights. For 5 years, their empire had been nothing without me. And now, the tables were turning. With one legal click, I would pull the rug out from under Melissa's empire, and she had no idea the storm was coming. I opened my administrator dashboard, fingers hovering over the keys like a conductor ready to unleash a symphony. One click revoked all vendor access to my family's corporate servers, a direct violation of their own terms of service. Then I rerouted their client portal. Their sleek $1 million interface vanished, replaced by a stark, uneditable error screen, service suspended. Legal and license violation by management. Melissa's illusion of control shattered instantly. 10 floors up, in her glass tower, every monitor went pitch black. The $3.8 million Apex migration, the lifeline keeping her over-leveraged empire afloat, flatlined. My phone erupted with a violent cascade of texts from Brandon, frantic blocks of capitalized letters, pleading, panicked. I ignored them, letting the storm build. Then Melissa called. Shrill, breathless, stripped of her usual polished calm. She threatened lawsuits, corporate sabotage claims, even bankruptcy, her words tripping over one another in pure panic. I let her scream. 3 long, agonizing seconds passed. Finally, I spoke. My consulting rate is $1,000 an hour. I just texted a $10,000 retainer link. Pay it immediately or the screens stay black. Her silence screamed volumes. Paying that invoice would expose her lies, her lack of operational control, her dependence on my unpaid labor. She realized too late that her empire wasn't real. It was a fragile facade propped up by exploitation. The panic in the glass tower was only the beginning. Melissa's desperation would soon involve law enforcement, and she still had no clue who truly held the power. The gravel driveway crunched under heavy tires. Flashing red and blue lights bounced off my dad's clock shop windows. 2 police cruisers blocked my car, their engines humming like a threat. Melissa had escalated, weaponizing the authorities to hide her crumbling empire. She falsely reported me for cyber terrorism and corporate theft, hoping the sight of badges and handcuffs would make me surrender. I opened the front door. 2 uniformed officers stood there, hands near their belts, expecting compliance. Calmly, I reached into the drawer and handed the lead officer a manila folder. Inside were the state-certified business registration and federal copyright for my software, dated 3 years before I ever touched the family servers. The officer scanned, verified, and handed it back. Melissa's voice crackled through my phone on speaker, screaming, pleading, furious. But the law had already sided with the truth. The lead officer's tone dropped to absolute ice. Ma'am, this is a civil contract dispute. Misusing emergency dispatch resources will have consequences. Do not contact this woman again. The cruisers left, taking her last desperate threats with them. I sat back on the wooden workbench, surrounded by sawdust and old oil, and let the silence settle. For the first time, I wasn't just defending my labor, I was legally untouchable. The tables had turned completely. Melissa thought armed officers would break me. But the real reckoning was about to hit her family empire, and it would leave no piece standing. At exactly 2 p.m., the Apex executives logged in to initiate the $3.8 million migration. Instead of the sleek interface they expected, a hard-coded error screen blinked at them. Service suspended. Legal and license violation. Panic spread instantly. The executives called the family board, threatening to terminate contracts and sue for gross negligence. Inside the glass-walled boardroom, Melissa's veneer of power shattered. Sweat ran down her temples, her hands trembled as she clicked frantically. Brandon sat frozen, staring at his expensive shoes. Cornered by investors and clients alike, Melissa had no choice but to confess she did not own the core software, lied to the board, and had triggered a catastrophic breach, all because she refused to let me bury my father. Minutes later, the board voted. Melissa was stripped of her CEO title. Brandon lost his vice president shares. Their empire, built on the labor of others, crumbled in a single afternoon. The revolving doors swallowed Melissa, her designer suits and privileges unable to protect her from millions in debt. Meanwhile, my independent firm secured a direct, multi-year Apex contract. Weeks later, at my father's modest Wisconsin cemetery, I stood over his wooden casket. No one from Melissa's corporate tower showed up. They were too busy surviving bankruptcy. The truth hit me. Walking away from toxic bloodlines was not betrayal, it was self-respect. By withdrawing my labor and enforcing
The conversion rate is up
boundaries,
15%.
I honored
That's
my
great. Let's
father's
check the
real
source.
legacy.
Okay, from the
Months
dashboard?
passed.
Yes, exactly.
Melissa faced
The metrics
legal
are looking really
consequences
strong.
and
I agree.
social exile.
This is a great start.
Brandon
Exactly.
downsized to
Let's
a
keep this
mid-level
momentum
data
going.
entry job.
This
My
timeline looks
company
good.
flourished.
Yes, I agree.
hosted
Let's proceed.
Thanksgiving with my
Great.
chosen
I'll send the
family,
updates.
people who
Perfect.
valued me.
Team, we've
not
done incredible
exploited me.
work. Let's keep this
Peace,
momentum
finally,
going.
belonged to
Absolutely.
me.
We're with you.
Let's do
Sometimes,
it.
the greatest revenge isn't
Team,
chaos.
this is our moment.
It's
Let's move
reclaiming
forward
your
with
life,
confidence.
your
We're
work,
right with you.
and your peace
Excellent.
while letting
Let's
their
go.
arrogance collapse under its
Team,
own
this is
weight.
our moment. Let's move forward with confidence.
We're right with